the pool of guys that are above them, because women only date across and up on the socioeconomic scale because of hypergamy, the pool is small.
The fact that we like a certain hip to waist ratio, facial symmetry in females, and signs of youth, those things had to be selected for. They had to be natural selection for those things. And people don't understand that. So there's 300,000 years of that, 11,700 years of agricultural revolution, 15 years of Facebook. But because of the recency bias, we think the world is Facebook. We think the world has always been this way, and it's the evolutionary mismatch that causes things like 80% of men on Tinder are considered unattractive, right? I feel like that's where some of this mismatch comes from, that we're having a great number of women going after a small number of men at the top. And then anecdotally, that's where I come in secondarily. Like, I'm friends with Dan Bilzerian. He's a buddy of mine. I hang out with him. It is madness how many women I literally listen and tell me, you know what I would never do? I'd never have sex with Dan. That's always what they say right before they have sex with Dan. It's one of the craziest things I've ever said. It's another thing, my friend Vegas Dave is the same kind of thing. Right before they have sex with Vegas Dave, they're like, ew, I would never have sex with Vegas Dave. And then they do it. And it's just it's so crazy to me. And it's one of these situations where, like, I understand that the world isn't the way you think it should be, but and by the way, this is not a function of culture. This is another thing I want to get people to understand. This idea that there's a few guys at the top getting this. When you read about Mubarak the bloodthirsty from, I believe, Morocco had 860 kids or something like that.
Ishmael the bloodthirsty.
Ishmael the bloodthirsty. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and then also,
Moroccan,
Genghis Khan in his situation, where like 1/2% of all males on the planet have his Y chromosome. This is this is not something that just started recently. It's just social media has made it to where there used to be a bifurcation. There used to be a dating scene in Wichita and another dating scene in Waco. There used to be a dating scene in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and another dating scene in Secaucus, New Jersey. And now there isn't that anymore. Because of social media, they've all sort of pushed into this one massive dating scene. And the reason why I bring this up is there's this girl I used to know. I'm still friends with her. Her name is Jojo Von Southie. She's from Wichita, Kansas. She was a Hooters waitress there. She gets discovered, and she ends up flying out to Los Angeles, and she's the first girl I know, to my knowledge, she's the first girl to hit 1 million followers on Instagram. I met her when she was 19. And since then, she's just been traveling the world, doing these magazine covers. She has 10 million followers on Instagram. And my point was, there was probably an injury attorney or a cardiologist that lived in Wichita who was going to marry this girl. But she got pulled to Dan Bilzerian, literally Dan Bilzerian's house. And because of that, now we have this stratification that's happened where there's a few guys at the top who are showing signs of fitness, nice cars, they're able to be funny, the ability to network, all these signs of fitness in men, and these men are having incredible success. And then we have a group of men that are completely being ignored.
Yeah, it's just the reality of the world, man. Like, we know that the vast majority of women have reproduced throughout history, but I think something like 25% of men have reproduced throughout history. So for most guys, it's been a dead end.
Yeah, 25%. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was trying to explain this to some people before because they were like ungrateful, and I was like, well, do you realize before the year 1850, half the Earth's population died before the age of 5, and way more than 50% of men who've ever lived died a virgin. Way more than 50%. Yeah. And then when they hear that, they're just. I had a friend of mine, a female friend. I kept throwing these facts at her, and her response was, "It's not my responsibility. Your dick is not my responsibility." And I was like, "There you go. That's the proof of what I was trying to say before." And then in the end, then they're like, "Well, there's no good men." And I was like, I know 50 dudes who would go out with you right now, do anything you want, but because you keep seeing the dude with the Lambo, you can't. What's it called? Recalibrate to understand what's going on. And then you end up, next thing you know, you're 40 and you don't have a relationship. You don't have any kids. You don't have a husband. And that's the reason why.
Yeah, and those same 40-year-old women are the ones sitting on The View talking about, men need to, man up or grow up or whatever. It's like, there's no 40-year-old guys that I know that are worth their salt, that have their life together, that have a nice car, great life, lots of money, influential, they're competent, they're interesting, that are dating 40-year-old women. They're dating younger, hotter women. That's just what men do.
Yeah. And the other thing I think that they completely missed the boat on was social media. And I was curious because you've had some of your guys on there talking about Tinder photos and their social media and stuff like that. And I like to say, like, dude, you look like a child molester. You look like you understand, an attractive woman in general thinks most men are beta. And now you're coming here with a child molester haircut, like looking like you're going to human traffic her, and you're wondering why she doesn't swipe right, or you're wondering why she doesn't like your Instagram. Can you talk about how so many men have been so uncalibrated and missed the boat when it comes to because you talk about, listen, if I got my shit together, somehow people have to see it. How people have missed the boat when it comes to dating apps and come to social media.
Right, like you set yourself up in such a way that you signal to the world that you've got yourself together. To the point of social media and photography, I mean, if you don't have a captivating Instagram and you're a captivating guy and you're influential and you're doing something with your life, why not? Like, why aren't you documenting parts of your life? Some people say that it's broadcasting or that it's, you don't feel comfortable doing it because only girls do it. Okay, fine. But if you want women in your life, if you want to be recognized that way, then you're going to have to kind of play that game. It's like, not taking a shower before you go out on a date is optional, but you'll probably do better if you smell good when you go out on the date, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I think about it. I use the example of scalability, right? You think about a guy back in the 1990s trying to pass his mixtape out to different people out of his trunk, right? That's as far as he could go until Napster. That's as far as he could go, right? But when you consume this content, we're doing it off YouTube. Any YouTube video has the ability, not necessarily the probability, but the possibility of getting 1 billion views. Infinite numbers of people could watch any of this content. The scalability is there. So you understand that when it comes to business. Why would you not understand that when it comes to dating? And another example, and this one I use, just from the idea of cars. So one guy's got a Shelby Mustang and the other guy's got a, Lamborghini, and they're both leaving the club, right? And let's just say for whatever reason, women recognize the value of the Lamborghini 15% more than the Shelby Mustang. When you have that whole thing, the guy with the Lambo, let's say he has a 15% advantage. This is 1985. We're both leaving Studio 54 in New York. The valet pulls up my Lambo. I have a 15% advantage over the guy with the Shelby Mustang. Now let's take that advantage and put it on social media. Now it's 15.15 to the nth power. Does that make sense? And what I felt like social media did is it did not make it easier for men to meet women. It made it easier for the top group of men to meet women. So if you had the abs, you were really stunting on the guys who didn't. And if you had the nice car, you were really stunting on the guys who didn't. And if you had the vacation home in Tulum, you were really stunting on the guys who didn't. And I felt like that's one of the things that people didn't understand. If a woman puts up average social media photos and she's averagely pretty, she is going to get attention on social media. If a guy does it, by definition, she thinks he's a beta. But I just try to explain this because I have some, I hang out with a ton of playmates because I host all these celebrity charity events here, and I'll hang out with them and I'll be like, hey, show me your social media. Let me see what the kind of messages you get. By definition, every one of you who's sliding into their DMs, they assume this is a creepy beta male who is going to throw me into a van. Like that's what they think about.
Yeah.
You come off as like a zombie, and you have
unless you have a blue check mark.
There you go.
That's exactly what they're going to think.
And you even brought up the blue check mark. That's the part that's just so crazy. Like, and I understand it's not realistic for all 500 of my clients to have blue check marks. But what is realistic is for you to show access to scarce resources, for you to wear clothes that fit, to have teeth that are straight. What is realistic is for you to have a relevant haircut. I don't know why I have so many clients that want bushy haircuts on the side and then it's like short on the top. I don't know where this shit comes from. And I keep trying to explain to them, like, it's not that you're coming off as attractive or unattractive. You're not even relevant. You come off as like weird, and they don't understand. There is no level of calibration, which is one thing that I really appreciate about your content, about Tristan's content, about Justin's content, is you guys come from a standpoint, while you're teaching this stuff, you also look like guys who would be attractive to women. Tristan with his suits and the cigars or whatever. Justin, I mean, I don't know if you ever met Justin in public, bro. I walk to clubs with Justin, and all the girls just don't pay any attention to any of us. They just stare at Justin because he's this, Division I tight end. And like in your situation, I mean, I can't even imagine. You said before you're like 6'2", walking around. You're getting out of the McLaren and being like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And it's just one of these situations where you guys are living the life while you're talking about it. Like there's a level of calibration that goes along with it.
Yeah, like being captivating is one thing, but documenting, your life and interesting things that go on, in your life is important. Like I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of consults, and one of the problems that I run into with older guys is, they've been married for 20 years, they get divorced, they're in their 50s or 60s or whatever. They're still in great shape. They look good. They got loads of cash. They drive nice cars, but they're boring. And they're not thinking along the lines of they need to invite a chick into their life.
Yeah.
They think that they need to enter their frame. They need to, let's be partners, equal partners, like that whole, twin tower sort of thing. And it's like, no, women don't want to invite you into their life. You need to invite them into your life. So when you have a captivating social media presence and you do interesting things with your days or your life, document it. I mean, there's some people with lots of money that have photographers that follow them around. You don't even need that. Most people have a decent camera on their phone. Just learn how to take basic freaking pictures and document it. Because what women are thinking when they see it is like, oh, I would like to be there, insert myself there on the
Mm.
boat or in the supercar or at the dinner or with these people. That's what they're looking at when they see that, right?
I have a buddy of mine. He takes this photo with a drone in the Valley of Fire. He stands on this like cliff, and the drone goes behind him, and he gets this incredible shot. And he does it for a bunch of his clients.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be the supercar. It can you can show access to scarce resources, mountain climbing. You can there's all these sorts of ways that you can show cool places that you went to go visit. I have 20 IG profiles that are my clients, and I copy and paste whenever anyone asks a question. I copy and paste and send those. I'm like, get as close to this as you can. You don't need an expensive photographer.
Yeah, nobody understands the evolutionary history of desire and attraction. And I think one of the best books that you can read as a guy is the book, it's titled The Evolution of Desire by David Buss.
Yeah.
You're not going to like some of the stuff that you come across in it, but who cares? If you have a problem with the facts, the problem is not with the facts.
Yeah.
So, you have people today that will get up in the morning and they'll think that their entire purpose in life is to go to school, get a degree, get graduated, like all these things. And it's like, okay, the reason why you're only here is to scatter seed if you're a guy. And if you're a girl, the reason why you're here is to find the best guy that you can lock down.
Yeah. My point is, you can't, when I hear people on The View say,
get away from that.
Yeah, when people on The View are like, when are men going to grow up? Or when men are like, why do women view us inadequately or whatever? Or they have delusional views of like what they can get as a woman. My whole thing is, I don't blame either side. It's an evolutionary pressure that caused these things.
Well, when they say, like on shows like The View, like when are men going to grow up?
Yeah.
What they're basically saying is, we now have all these women that have degrees, good jobs, can provide for themselves. They don't need no man. They need a man like a fish needs a bicycle. When are all the men going to grow up and step up to wife up all these women? And what they don't understand is the pool of guys that are above them, because women only date across and up on the socioeconomic scale because of hypergamy. The pool is small. It's not big. Like there's not an army of like hundreds of thousands of men sitting in a dark corner somewhere hiding from these women, and they're just going to grow up one day and show up. That's not how it works. They just don't understand the dynamics of it.
Yeah, and by the way, those men who are above that level also are receiving so much attention from women that the likelihood of those men staying, monogamous is extremely low. It was a great book. I don't know if you've ever read Satoshi Kanazawa's first book, which was Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters. He wrote another book called The Intelligence Paradox. He's been like almost canceled for both of these books, by the way. In The Intelligence Paradox, he talks about as people become more like as you get into higher IQ stratification, they're more likely to cheat. And also, there's other studies that show men are more likely to cheat as you get higher and higher in the income stratus, which is like the top 1%, I believe, is $545,000 a year in the United States. As you get higher and higher, and that this is something that Myron talks about frequently on Fresh and Fit, where it's like you want a guy who's 6'2" and makes $550,000 a year. The likelihood of you getting him is low. The likelihood of you locking him down is extremely low. And the likelihood of you getting him, locking him down, and him not being with any other women is astronomically low. And the girls are like, no, but it doesn't feel like that should be true. I feel like because I watched this Disney movie, I feel like I deserve this. And feelings that don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, so there's two things there. So, I mean, first of all, a man's test of loyalty comes when he's successful. A woman's test of loyalty comes when a man is unsuccessful, right? So that kind of sums up what you just talked about there.